Good morning, everybody. Well, afternoon for some of you. Yeah. If you are out in Portland, where we are based, I hope you enjoyed your ice storm. I hope you're enjoying trying to get around the city. It's starting to melt, so I'm not trying to be like traffic and weather, but I'm going to be a little bit. So for those of you in Portland, tough it out. You got it. You got it. To everyone else out there, thank you so much for your support of Indie Agency News, especially our members. And you can see some of our new members on LinkedIn. We like to celebrate our members. We love to celebrate our members. And if you'd like to get more information, go to indieagency.news. Our brief is very simple. Building the global home for independent agencies. Our mission is to serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them, one of whom we bring on today. Look at you. Look at you. Rob Douglas, CEO, Left Off Madison. We're going to get to the work here in a second because we're talking about techniques. We're talking about hip hop culture. We're talking about bringing them together. And I've got tough questions.
Yep.
I've got some tough questions. But before we kick off, and we haven't done your Meet an Indie Agency segment yet. We will do that soon. But I'm curious about your background in the industry because I think it helps contextualize. A lot of people that are in the indie space have had experiences in independence, and they've also had experiences at holding companies and everywhere in between. So give us the little thumbnail of your background.
Great. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me. As actually the interesting twist, I grew up in a household where they filmed TV commercials, which has its own separate story, but it really became sort of the breadcrumbs for me when I pursued a college career, then ended up in an internship thanks to Dot Giannone over there at Young and Rubicam. So spent the first decade of my career in Y&R before Martin Sorrell acquired it, which was around 99, 2000.
Yeah, that's about right.
So went through the pre-acquisition and then also stayed post-acquisition. And then from there, as Y&R was going through a very tumultuous time, clients exiting and things like that, I felt it was like an appropriate time to pursue, to grow my career, and ended up, sort of hop, skipping, and jumping. Landed for a brief minute with BBDO, then Ogilvy, and then decided that I really wanted to get back to really getting all of my tentacles, feet, toes, body, everything in every aspect of the client business. And it was, as I left the Y&R, I got more and more pigeonholed, and I hated that.
Right.
So then ended up at a company that ended up getting acquired by Dentsu. Okay. And then from Dentsu left and started Left Off Madison. Okay.
I love it. That's a great background. So let's dive in, since this is Indie Work Live. I'm going to start, and these are, you have 30-second cut downs on this, and we were having this discussion. You said 30. I was like, no. So we're going to do these. We're going to play the first of these short films, and then we're going to dig in a little bit because I do want to talk about the work, the elements, and the brief, and then we'll dig into it. So let's take a look at this first one.
Great.
For me, golf, it's a lifetime thing. It's similar to art for me. Art, I can do this till I die, and that's what I'm going to do. Going somewhere and going through something, putting your feet on the ground, being completely immersed in something else or something new is truly inspiring to me. Especially the way I paint. I use every medium I can. Everything has a different relationship with the canvas. Zinga Studios, man. It's where the magic happens. Everything you thought it is, it is. It's funny because at first I never really liked golf. For me, it was a world that I was a little bit abrasive towards. I wasn't really rocking with it like that. One day, I just decided to go golfing with a friend of mine.
Let's go.
And he was like, no, golf is so much more, you know what I'm saying?
We're getting warmed up. Needed that.
The thing I loved about the Technics were the noise canceling. that gave me a level of focus that was unprecedented, especially with headphones. To be able to last this long and still continue to do what you do with the same intent you started with is everything. That's how I view Techniques, though. I'm continuously trying to get better, trying to beat these greats, trying to get myself in the names of the ranks. And that's the same thing as golf. Arguably, maybe I'll never be good at art in a way for people to say like, oh, hey, you're like Rembrandt, you're Caravaggio. Maybe I'll never be spoke to in the same measurements, but I can always experience it the same way they did. And I think that golf is just a perfect example. It's Jalil and Zinga, man. And this is music to your game.
First off, he's got a nice little natural draw. His swing is nice.
Yeah. It was funny. Some other golfers in our circle of friends noticed that, picked up on that too.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. No, he's got a really nice swing. So tell us about the artist.
Sure.
And let's break down the work. So break down the key elements that you really wanted to get to the forefront, because what we saw has a level of familiarity. It is a 2-minute film that, I get where this is going, but there are all these really unique twists. The subject matter is familiar but different. The main protagonist is familiar but different. So let's break that down a little bit.
Sure. Jalil, actually, and honestly, thanks to our friend and colleague B. Wynn, who I've worked with since my Y&R days. He's actually a former marketing person from Loud Records in the music industry. He's now a serial entrepreneur. So he's really become an extension of the Left Off Madison team. So we work, Boris, my business partner, and I work very closely with him internally on this particular project. And Jalil is an interesting character in itself. He's not widely well known in the music circle, in the hip hop music circle, but he was actually a former member of a group that was known as the Pack or the Wolf Pack. They had one hit in particular that had to do with Vans sneakers. That was a hit several years ago. He broke away. He evolved and became the artist that he is today, who is now selling his art pieces to Hollywood and the music industry and things like that for a lot of money. It would make your jaw drop to see the kind of response he gets from his artwork that you get a sense of. But he is really, like a musical artist, he's really, really trying to push the boundaries of what he can do with art and what the stereotypes are there, and sort of breaking that down. We liked him because he had that, you don't really know him. He used to be, his nickname as a rapper was Stunnerman, I think it was the name. But he's sort of this obscure artist who's now becoming a little bit of a who's who in Hollywood.
Right.
And then the fact that he's a golfer. So that connection between his historical context, his present, his affinity for golf. And I love how the fact that he said that golf was sort of abrasive to him.
Yeah.
And he sort of fell in love with it. And then how he incorporated music into his scene, whether it was like warming up on the putting green or actually taking the course, whether he needed to hear music or whether he needed to take a call or whatever, how he kept that going.
Well, I mean, the abrasive part, let's put the elephant in the room. It's generally white and male. And so I can completely understand that. Now, the other thing that I really like about this is, and I'm going to talk about the competitive set after we watch this work and talk a little bit more, but if you think about it, this type of execution, you usually expect A-list star, a Colin Morikawa, a Tiger, you go through that, right? But what I really like about this, I mean, there's a lot of things I like about it, but what I find really interesting is, and it's hard to get honesty in these things, right? It can feel really forced. So here you have an elite level golfer, or et cetera, et cetera. This just felt very populist to me. And so what I want to get to is let's talk a little bit about the brief, what the brief was, how you approached it, and then how it changed over time.
Yep. It was very interesting where we were, say, in 21, 22 era, that, working with our Panasonic clients, which Panasonic owns Techniques. the task had always been, hey, we need to sell more, more headphones, more earbuds and stuff like that. They were sort of a new player. They're sort of, in the scale of things, they're way behind Beats, Sony, JBL, and things like that. And they really wanted to gain some ground. But as we were going through the course, and we were very effective there, and growing. But they also, Panasonic as a company, is shifting from a reliance on Amazon and the Best Buys and adding in a direct-to-consumer component. So there was a real business shift there. Not that they were leaving Amazon and Best Buy. There's still good graces there, but they really wanted to cultivate this direct-to-consumer business, which Boris and I have really been, in the trenches with them on. But the brief at that point is like, look, Rob, we get our funding from Japan. We have to make the case that with our limited budgets, how do we make these budgets work harder to drive sales and learn about the consumer and who they are and what they're all about? So we can't go after, and I'll summarize that the original target was, say, like business professionals, predominantly male. Think of that as a nice aggregate of the audience that we originally were targeting, but that audience is huge.
Right.
And when you think about business professionals, there's everybody, there's so many different kinds of business professionals involved in that. So the brief came down to us at the top. It was about a year ago at this time, almost at this exact time, where our clients came to us and said, look, we need to narrow this audience down where, again, we need to drive sales, we need to drive performance, but making our dollars work a lot harder. Help us find that audience. So we started off with a client, all the research and data they got, but what we sort of plucked out of that and talked to the client about it is we plucked out 6 to 8, I can't remember how many there were, but characteristics, whether it was demographic, psychographic, attitudinal. So we picked these characteristics that really defined the Technics target audience, that made them unique and different. And then we went to work on our data tools. One of our data tools that we use is MRI Simmons. It's a syndicated national study. It's not open to everybody. It's a subscription.
Right. Yep.
But we went head first, like dove into the data and went to work. We were like, all right, find us cohorts where we can really get in that.
Yeah, smart. That's sharp. Because you're right. You talk about business, and I'm using like the air quotes there. I mean, Jalil's doing business.
Yeah.
He's influential and he's doing business. No, I love that.
What we shared with the client, it was like after we did our work, there was 3 cohorts that came up. One of them was golf. One of them was Formula One. And I think especially if you take a look at, if you follow that at all,
no, I do. Max Verstappen. I was there early, so I'm not on the bandwagon.
Yeah, but you got the race in Miami now, and you got the race in Vegas.
Right.
NHL was another one too, right?
Oh, interesting.
So we went down this golf path, and the client originally gravitated to it for 2 reasons. One, when we did the sort of give me a head count, how many people are in Formula One, NHL, golf, whatever. And golf was the bigger one.
Right.
They also did their own internal research among, friends and family and executives, and said, does this make sense or whatever? But then it's where Boris and B and myself really huddled about, like, what's our recommendation? Size is one thing.
Yeah.
But how do we really connect the dots?
Right. So size versus impact, right? You could have a huge audience, but if it's not as impactful, what's the point?
Yep. So the connective tissue really came in when we were talking internally. So we almost like, okay, client, you're good. We get behind us and hear the reasons why. And the reasons why was primarily because if you take a look at Technics as a brand, it was lesser known for headphones and earbuds and things like that.
Yeah.
It was widely known for turntables.
Oh yeah. Having been in hip hop radio for 5 years, I know it well.
So that was the sort of like, okay. What is it? Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC is quoted as saying something to the effect of, the turntable is to rap music as guitar is to rock and roll.
Yep.
So that was a starting point. And when we were talking with B, and B actually, again, former Loud Records executive, so Wu-Tang Clan, Mobb Deep, all those guys, and working with Steve Rifkin and all those, he was like almost our target audience. Here he is, a Vietnamese guy from the music industry, living in California who has become a serious golfer.
Wow.
Is he handicapped? I don't know. I'd never asked him that question.
Right. What his number is.
But anyway, he has gotten so passionate about it. So we really started to talk about the realities of what the changing landscape of the golf scene. It wasn't like your dad, the old waspy
people who look like you and me. Yeah.
And how really, like, if you take a look at J.R. Smith, a famous or former NBA player, he went back to college and is sort of finding his way to become a pro golfer.
Yes.
But then you'd even find all these NFL, Major League Baseball players like really having a lot of passion around golf. So it was really taking off.
Steph Curry.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to be a pro.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to be on the tour.
So we really followed that path, and we're like, okay, this is now that gives us the connection back to the turntables, hip hop culture, the browning of golf courses, if you will.
Right.
When you think about the other like clothing brands that were coming into the space, you had, and also just the pressure that the PGA was getting from its competitor,
right?
And what that was going like. There seemed to be sort of a crucible of change happening.
Yeah, it makes sense. Let's do this. So one analog I'll give you on this is similarly in footwear. To me, Techniques feels like New Balance, right? Where they're making some of these interesting little moves.
Yep.
That are about influential. Now let's be very clear: influencer versus influential.
Yep.
Jalil is influential. He's not an influencer. Influencers can be, that's perishable. Being influential endures. So that's interesting, and I think that tracks a little bit with me. But let's look at the second video, and then we'll ask a few more questions. We'll wrap up our conversation. Then you and I are going to look at some work. All right, here we go.
My passion for music really emerged just from my love for DJing. Part of the movement that I'm trying to cultivate right now is music and art and food, bringing them into the golf space and vice versa. I really draw inspiration from every genre, every artist I come across. This is where I produce all my music. A good song is a good song. A good melody is a good melody, so I just draw inspiration from the world. Yo, what up? So here at Gorilla Pies, the restaurant that I own with my brother, Chef Ben Osher. It feels very casual, but the food is like the highest echelon due to my brother's, chef skills. He's got a lot of techniques, you know what I'm saying? I've been golfing for about 70 years. A buddy of mine took me to a par 3 and I just became fully addicted. A lot of my friends are really good golfers, so I just kind of feed off of their energy. The new Technics earbuds are great. Bass bangs, I was trying out some new demos, sounded very good. Technics has always been synonymous with culture. The fact that they're jumping into the golf space just makes so much sense. When I won VH1 Master of the Mix, they made a one-of-one custom white Technics 1200 turntable. And after I won the show, they said, you know what, JCL? You should have these. And I said, you know what? I'll take them. Techniques has meant so much to me from the start of my DJ career and still progressing 20 plus years in the music industry. So I'm a tank just like these Techniques. JCL, DJ, producer, and unprofessional golfer. This is music to your game.
I love that cat story. And listen, again, I had mentioned I was hip hop radio for 5 years, and DJing is not. It's like being a stand up comedian. It ain't easy.
No, it is. It's got to be a grind.
Oh no, I know some cats. Oh god, best mixer, Mark Mac and Ease, Mac and Cheese, E Measy, whatever nicknames we want to give him. He's been doing a residency in Vegas for like ever now, and he's so good. So good. We had DJ Envious, we had OG1, and those cats, they were grinding. I mean, they were just whatever they could get just to move forward. And, it does pay off. it does pay off if you work at it. Now, we've talked a little bit about the work. We've talked about the process a little bit. I want to talk about the category. You had mentioned, I'm sitting here wearing bows, by the way. I go wired just because I'm old school like that. But you got Bose, you got Beats, you've got Apple, you're running through this list of wildly known brands in this incredibly competitive category. So electronics in and of itself, incredibly competitive. Now we start getting down into headphones. Forget it. How do you think the brand can break through, and what are some of the kernels of success that you've seen so far?
The kernels, I'll start backwards. The kernels of success is the sales at the end of the day, because we're doing that whole direct to consumer aspect. So Boris and the media team are seeing that return on investment. The other interesting thing too is that we're also seeing a halo effect over the Technics brand overall. So people may be coming in on one of the golf videos and think, they may come in with a headphone, with the intent of buying a headphone, but then they find an all-in-one music unit, or they buy a turntable.
Right.
There's this really interesting halo effect going on.
Upsell, baby. I love a good upsell.
Yeah, but and the thing is like it's a message to clients too. Like, we have gotten ourselves so in this narrow-mindedness of like, I've got a new product and I need to sell this product, and every advertising dollar, and if we're not selling that one product that we're promoting, we failed. And it's like,
right.
You guys step back and be like, no, you don't understand. Like, and you can picture the rest of the story.
I see you implying Solo Stove, but please continue.
But I think where we go from here, and this is our challenge as we go into the next fiscal year with them, is not being fleeting. Like, if we put our foot in golf and we have the legacy with hip hop culture, we got to stay here. But the key piece to this thing is we have to stay, here's the typical marketing speak of, we got to stay true to the brand. We got to stay true to the brand in the sense that we can't be flaky. We got to be legit. The Run DMCs and the turntable, the DJ Premiers and all those still have to look at the brand as like it's still highly respected, and sort of bend that respectability into the earphone category, and pick up new traction, if you will, because obviously the DJ world is obviously a tiny world, but bend the respectability and find this other audience with golf. And how do we stay true and authentic with golf? So the brand itself is, and the work that we're doing, but also what Panasonic is doing, is really entrenching themselves deeper into the golf ecosystem. Right. Overall.
Yeah. The New Balance of headphones.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, actually, it's a good analogy. It's a great analogy.
Oh, thank you. I'm good for one idea a week, so I got it late in the week. Let's talk about this. Is a question that I ask everybody. How do you sell in work to a client? How can you sell in brave ideas? How do you sell in the work?
There's two things. I'm not sure which is first. There's two things that are critical in thinking about this question. Number one is it's got to be data led. A lot of people, the moment that an agency or anybody starts with their sentence with "I think" or "I believe," you got to walk away from it. Creatives have the liberty to be able to, speaking to you, Doug, have the liberty to be able to stretch, be able to use "I think, I believe," but it's going to be the account guys and the media guys who have to really back it up with the data and facts. But the other thing that I think that's incredibly unique about our relationship with Panasonic in general, and it really is a reciprocal relationship with our Panasonic leads there, is there's a tremendous amount of trust and stick-to-itiveness. And, I think collaboration, collaboration is a big part of it. So, it's kind of like I joke, Boris and I kind of joke, it's kind of like, I feel like we feel like we're ride or die, in the sense of we're really ride or die with our clients. And then there's other clients we honestly have not earned that trust. in some ways, where that we would really dig in the trenches with them to figure out
Right.
some business advertising related business challenges. But in the case of Panasonic, we have worked hard for that. We respect them and trust them. It's just really smart group of clients that you don't necessarily get everywhere that you get to work with.
Right.
And they're demanding, but demanding in a, like, we got to do this. Like, we got to prove to our bosses that this is going to win. This is going to succeed. Like, let's make sure that, and that when that becomes infectious.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that.
And if you need to have both of those things, the data to support it, but then a client trust related. If you're a vendor and you're just order takers like a short order chef,
right.
That's not the foundation.
That doesn't take.
No,
it doesn't take. All right. Well, this is cool. I love where you're tracking with this. This is fantastic. Should we look at some work from some other agencies?
Let's do it.
So a new little feature of this particular show is we get pitch stuff all the time. You are welcome to pitch us. indieagency.news. If you remember, you have a little special pitch form for that. So we want to take a look at a little bit of work that came in this week. So this agency is called Giga Savvy, and it is for their client, West Coast University. So we're going to take a look at this.
I pledge to rise up every day, every hour, to be the person I was meant to be. Dedicated to the care of others, no matter the sacrifice, no matter the cost. In order to do what nobody else will do, better than anybody else can do it. With each action I take, I will make my community proud. Caring for them as they have cared for me, because they deserve nothing less.
I pledge.
I pledge.
I pledge
to rise up.
This is our city. This is our calling.
West Coast University, when caring is your calling.
Okay, so nice piece of work, right? And it's very specific to Dallas, very specific to the nursing program. It's interesting because I think that and listen, you and I were talking about this earlier off the air that I'm like a Siskel and Ebert, right? So we critique the work, but the thing that we have to think about too is workhorse creative. Not everything is going to be a Geico ad. Not everything is going to be this, that, or the other thing. And what I like about that is it's very specific. And doing 60s, by the way, not easy at all. So Rob,
it didn't feel like a 60 to me.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So I mean, I really think it definitely, I don't know what the brief really was, but it definitely meets, that I can imagine that it meets a lot of the requirements of what the client needed.
I love two things about it. One, I felt like it was such an anthem, for that brand, for that school.
Yep.
And I felt like it was not positioning three things, actually. It was not positioning I presume that those are real nurses, real talent, whatever. They felt authentic and real to me, but it wasn't like forcing them to speak on camera. Because as you know, non-professional talent is not very good on, whatever. I'm a case in point of that. But and then the third thing was the aspect of the way that they refer to it as a calling. I obviously, as advertising professionals, we all consume a lot of advertising just for the business aspect of it. Like, let me take this in. I don't think I've ever heard of it referred to it as a calling, or at least around here in the New York area in particular. But I thought that was a very powerful thought. Yeah, no,
I really, no, I agree. And, the execution of this, when you look at education advertising, there is a familiarity to it. So you can, if you're watching a Pac-12 rest in peace game, for example, Oregon versus Washington, you'll see the University of Oregon, you'll see the University of Washington, and it has some of the same cut to it. Yeah. But I think you're right. I think that I think that part of this is that it did feel a lot more authentic. And, looking at some of the background of this, they worked under like an incredibly condensed timeline, apparently. So less than 2 months from when the client from client meeting to air. So kudos to the agency.
And that's honestly, sometimes you do your best work under those kinds of
constraint, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the brief really was about nursing students in the Miami and Dallas area. So I thought, it ticked a lot of boxes. It was really, really good. We're going to take a look at a piece of work from an Indie Agency News member. Thank you so much for your support. Good conduct. Here we go.
$1 can't get you much these days, but with Every Plate, America's best value meal kit, it can get you this delicious steak.
Steak? For $1? I thought that only got me a disappointing tooth fairy experience.
$1 in this economy? Unbelievable.
$1 is worth something again, and that something is steak. Sign up for Every Plate and get a steak for $1 every week.
I saw you chuckle. I'd eat $1 steak.
Heck yeah. Every Plate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's Every Plate. And that is actually, that is a HelloFresh brand, by the way.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah, so let me just make sure.
So
yeah,
I wonder why they're doing that as like sort of a spin-off from it. Why not stay with HelloFresh? Because now they're having to spend money to build a brand.
I wonder. Okay, that's a good question to ask. One idea is, I don't know if it was. I have to look at what the business side of it was.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's a tier, right? So if you think about
maybe, yeah.
It could be tiered where HelloFresh is one tier and this is another tier. It could just be a different take on it, but I don't want to get too in the weeds on that. I want to focus in on the work a little bit. A technique and devices that are very familiar, very common, a nice little setup, a nice little joke, a good payoff, clean and fun.
Great use of great casting for the VO talent.
Yeah. A little more authority.
Yeah, and he seemed somewhat familiar, like almost like as if not the Arby's guys. That's a totally different VO.
That's Bing Rames, motherfucker.
Yeah. I can't think of.
No, I know who you're talking about though. It's like the Real Men of Genius guy.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Miller Lite. I forget their names. I was in on a session that was being recorded with him back in the day, and it was hilarious. But yeah, that authoritative, familiar bit for sure.
And I think if they maybe just hit a little bit harder on the tail end, on the call to action, they could have seared that.
You made a steak reference. You say,
yeah,
yes,
unaccidentally intended.
You accidentally intended to make a comment like that. No, really good work, and I'm excited to see what they do with it from here. Because if you think about it too, that also gives you a baseline to work from, right? Yeah. So now you have the device. Now you have the way into it. Now you can expand it from there. So well done to our friends at Good Conduct in Denver, and welcome to the family. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. We will do this again for sure. Appreciate you taking the time, and most importantly, appreciate your membership in Indie Agency News. We're thrilled to have you, and we're just going to keep on keeping on.
Appreciate it, and I'm going to be sure to send you some wired headphones to replace those. Replace those.
All right.
Waiting just to drop that on you at the end of this, so I can.
I figured as much. Oh my goodness. All right. All right. Fine.
Priority.
Yeah, but you know what? You did get a members only jacket from us.
Yes.
So yeah. Now you actually have to wear it in public. Oh my God. Rob Douglas, CEO, Left Off Madison. Stay put backstage. I want to thank you so much for joining us. All right, everybody, a reminder that we have a show every day at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That is 12 noon Eastern. That is 5 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. if you are in France. Tomorrow is Pun Fight. It is our first game show. We have Pun Fight, Liar, Liar. A new one is going to be coming online as well called Random Question or Random Q. But we just want to have fun on Fridays. We want to cut loose. And then Monday, we will have another Indie Agency News Radio over on LinkedIn. On behalf of all of us at Indie Agency News, we thank you so much. We invite you to go to indieagency.news/join to find out more information. And we will see you next time.